And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news and share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you happen to be listening anywhere else and you wanted to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That's at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta, as well as Rumble now on Coffee Talk 2, being joined today by Granny Smith. There she is, sleeping on the floor, keeping me company today. As we get ready to jump off, I will go ahead and say hello to some of the people that have chosen to chime in on the live portion here. Jeff is here. He says it's the first day this week they got a notification. Really? Really? Jimmy is here. Helter. Dragon. Brian is here. And Brian says the AI music is actually pretty good this time. Yeah, I know it's rare that it even keeps time. You know, AI music's all over the place. And Kimberly is here. Glad you could make it today. And hello to everyone else who may be listening and does not want to chime in or can't. That's okay, as we jump into the realm of the ridiculous, as it were. And that is the world that we live in. The world isn't so bad and life isn't so hard. People just make it that way. People just make it that way. We will be talking about the Ukraine today a little bit, because I have a couple of things pulled up about that, alluding to the thumbnail that you may have seen at the beginning of the video. And of course, again, if you are watching the live portion on Rumble, I cannot see your comments. I can only see comments coming in from YouTube on the Restream app. As we get ready to jump off, something I wanted to, an article I wanted to get in first before we start talking about Voldemort Zelensky. And Puck says he's not here. Okay, Puck, you keep hiding. You keep hiding. As we get ready to, where is this one? Fox News article. Fox News article coming up, talking about some more things that were uncovered by DOGE. It says Caesars Palace, MLB Stadium, and ice cream truck are some of the things that DOGE reveals how schools spent billions in C virus relief funds. And you all know why I say the actual name of the virus. I've gotten in trouble for mentioning it. Are we still there? I saw an orange warning. But article reads, schools spent hundreds of billions in C virus relief funds on expenses that had little impact on students, such as Las Vegas hotel rooms and the purchase of an ice cream truck, according to DOGE. The Department of Government Efficiency, in its efforts to purge wasteful government spending, revealed Thursday that schools have spent nearly $200 billion in C virus relief funds with little oversight or impact on students. Over $200 billion. Because they were given free money and they wasted it. That's why. The public schools are already a money pit. Granite Public Schools in Utah spent their C virus relief funds on $86,000 worth of hotel rooms at Caesars Palace, a ritzy Las Vegas casino, while Santa Ana Unified School District spent $393,000 to rent a Major League Baseball stadium. The cost-cutting department also revealed schools spent $60,000 of relief funds on swimming pool passes, while the California district used its funds to purchase an ice cream truck. Swimming pool passes when all the pools were closed because of the C virus. Is that the idea? All of this money was drawn with zero documentation. DOGE highlighted that the Trump administration is implementing more thorough requirements for dishing out the $4 billion left for those funds, Why is there any money left for C virus relief funds? That should all be rescinded at this point. Requiring that all grantees must provide receipts for every purchase before funding is released, which is how it should have been done anyway. While the Trump administration reworks the Department of Education's issuing of funds, the revelations about where money has been spent has sparked outrage from local leaders and education groups across the country. Recall those school board meetings when the ruling elites of COVIDstan branded mothers as selfish disruptors simply for challenging their interpretation of, quote, the science and scrutinizing how they allocated ESSER funds. Never let them forget that we were right about everything. And that's a quote from Moms for Liberty. Incredible. DOGE has taken specific aim at cutting spending by the Department of Education, slashing $370 million in taxpayer dollars being spent on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Just in the last week, the department terminated 70 DEI training grants within that department, including one that funded training for teachers to engage in ongoing learning and self-reflection to confront their own biases and racism and develop asset-based anti-racist mindsets. What a word salad that is. What a freaking mess. An ice cream truck. An ice cream truck. $86,000 on hotel rooms at Caesar's Palace. Incredible. I'm going to go ahead and catch this up. Puck wants to know if I saw a Newsweek article about a Finnish politician. I don't think I saw that. JJ says, I'm still broadcasting. Good. D-Lo is here, as well as Raccoon and Lucky. Glad you all could make it today. Kimberly says, I don't know how much Sam's Club actually received, but I slipped us all a nice little check. Did they? But they slipped us all a nice little check. But none of that makes any sense. That money allocated to schools, and then none of it made any sense anyways. I look at it like this. The schools closed. The schools closed, which reduced their costs. They went to distance learning. Okay? They went to distance learning. They spent less money and got all this additional funding. And school taxes across the country have gone up concurrently since that started. Every year it's gone up. Every year. Okay? And you gave them all this extra money and they didn't know what the hell to do with it. So what did they do? They splurged. They wasted the money. Which is why all of this tax money is being cycled back. Which is why DOGE had to be created in the first place. Because they think it's an endless supply. Oh, we'll just keep taxing people. We'll just keep taking their money. We'll keep funding it like that. To the point where we are now $36 trillion in debt. And we don't know if we're ever going to get it paid off. And then you get stuff like this. Let me open this attachment. I want to read this. I saw this today, and this really touches on the point that I'm making. Let me open this up for you. I read this. This is circulating on social media. All right, I'm going to read it. It's a meme. It's a posting. It says, where did this idea come from that a country needs to be run like a business? A business is run for profit. A country is supposed to be run for service, providing infrastructure and healthcare and education and emergency services. You know, the stuff we're effing paying for with our taxes. If you begin to run a country like a business, you'll cut things that don't make profit, but some things aren't supposed to make a profit. What? Do you want firefighters that operate on a subscription service? Okay. This is exactly the problem. This person is wrong about what a government is. Where did this idea come from? A country needs to be run like a business so that you don't go bankrupt. We're more than 36 trillion in debt. The Soviet Union went bankrupt for less than that. The only difference between us and the Soviet Union is they didn't have anything left to draw on. There was nothing left to take from anyone when they went bankrupt. There was nothing left, and their government fell apart. In the United States, we haven't gotten to that point yet. They can still tax the piss out of everybody and raising taxes all the time and finding excuses for more. That's not how you run a government. You don't just keep taking money and giving it away. It doesn't work. It says a country is supposed to be run for service. What kind of service are you talking about? Providing infrastructure and healthcare and education and emergency services. Not necessarily. And what else? And what else? And what else? Okay, infrastructure? Sure. Okay, I can see that. National defense? Sure. But the problem is all of these agencies that all this extra money is being thrown at that got nothing to do with anything they mentioned here. No one said anything about DOGE cutting infrastructure. Nobody said anything about DOGE cutting emergency services. I mean, seriously. And do you want government providing health care? Go to Canada. Go live there. See how it works out for you. I read a story. It's an older story, but it's circulating again. I read a story the other day about a Canadian in Ottawa who was getting a kidney transplant. And he had two donors lined up because both of his brothers said they would donate a kidney if needed. So he had a viable donor. And I'm not an advocate for organ donation because it's a scam. I'm sorry. I think it's a scam. The survival rate is very, very low on that. Okay. But he had donors lined up. So they didn't need a donor. They refused to do the surgery because he refused to take the C virus poke. He wouldn't do it. Look the story up. You'll find it. You'll find the story I'm talking about. It happened a couple of years ago, but it's circulating again in the social media has been talking about it a lot. They refused to do the transplant. And then he died in the hospital waiting while refusing to take that jab. And when he died, they asked his wife if they could harvest his remaining organs. How's that for irony? And James is here, as well as Coffee Girl. James is worried about Zelensky. Don't worry, James. We'll be talking about him in a minute. Oh, and JJ says anyone's taken a ride in an ambulance knows there's a high bill associated with that service despite taxes. Yeah. The only people who benefit from government health care are people that are in poverty because they don't pay for anything. Believe it. Okay. I grew up in that environment. They don't pay for a damn thing. Even in the 70s, they didn't pay for it. But you do not want the government running your health care. And Monkey Siri says, isn't that why USSR tried to invade Afghanistan as a last-ditch effort for not going bankrupt? They were trying to access the ocean directly. I think that was one of the main reasons. They were trying to cut a path to the ocean. And Reagan was secretly assisting them on the slide, kind of the same way Biden was with Ukraine, but a little bit more clandestinely. Reagan was smarter about it. And they went bankrupt trying to fight that war. They went absolutely bankrupt. And they had nothing to draw on. You can only tax people so much. There was nothing left for them to take from their people, and the government just fell to pieces. We haven't gotten to that point yet, but we're getting there. And people like this want to complain. Government's not supposed to make a profit. They're not supposed to be in debt either. And you want to complain about this? And Puck says Canadian healthcare equals death, pretty much. Monkey says the kidney transplant story. You heard that one. Similar thing happening to one of J.D. Vance's relatives for a heart. I don't know which part. And the hospital refused for the relative because of the C virus. Yeah, they wouldn't get the jab. And the hospital refused them. But then, like I said, you know what? If that person wasn't good enough to do the surgery for because they didn't get the poke, they're not good enough to have their organs harvested either, but they sure did ask them for it. They sure did ask for the organs. I mean, the audacity. Could you imagine being that guy's wife? Could you imagine? But since Zelensky was brought up, Voldemort Zelensky, and here's Tuck. Tuck has joined us today. Excuse me. And we'll get into Zelensky here now, pertaining to the thumbnail. Now, I got a couple of things to say about this. This is from the Kryptonian magazine, okay? Elon Musk's DOGE to audit the U.S. money sent to the Ukraine because half of the money is missing. And by the way, Zelensky admitted this. This isn't speculation. He says he doesn't know where the money is. Yeah. Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency have agreed to an audit of U.S. funds sent to the Ukraine. Musk responded with a simple okay on his social media platform on Tuesday, who requested Musk and DOGE to lead an investigation into how American aid has been spent. Musk's response comes on the merit of money laundering claims made over the U.S. government's financial support of Ukraine in his war against Russia. On February 18th, through a Truth Social post, Trump claimed the U.S. had spent $350 billion on the Ukraine and has received nothing. And then he made this massive bomb on X. I'm trying to look at the post separately so I can read the whole thing here. Okay, this is the real X. Think of it. A modestly successful comedian, Voldemort Zelensky, talked the United States of America into spending $350 billion to go into a war that couldn't be won, that never had to start, but a war that he, without the U.S. and Trump, will never be able to settle. The United States has spent $200 billion more than Europe, and Europe's money is guaranteed, while the United States will get nothing back. Why didn't sleepy Joe Biden demand equalization? And that this war is far more important to Europe than it is to us. We have a big, beautiful ocean as separation. On top of this, Zelensky admits half of the money that was sent to him is missing, and he refuses to have elections, is very low in Ukrainian polls, and the only thing he was good at was playing Biden like a fiddle. A dictator without elections, Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left. In the meantime, we are successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia, something all admit only Trump and the Trump administration can do. Biden never tried. Europe has failed to bring peace, and Zelensky probably wants to keep the gravy train going. I love Ukraine, but Zelensky has done a terrible job. His country is shattered, and millions have unnecessarily died, and so it continues. And that's the entire article there. That's the entire thing. Coffee Girl says maybe government isn't making profit, but the people working in government sure are. Correct. JJ says shit like that pisses me off. Denying someone a life-saving operation because they didn't take the jab, then having the gall to ask about harvesting his organs. Yeah, you can find that article. I don't have it pulled up, but you can find that article. It happened a while back, but it was worth mentioning. Paul says, I just heard on a link that Elon has just put out the list involved with P. Diddy. Is it true? I don't know. And Paul says Britain had to pay the Americans for the stuff in World War II. I don't know if we got all of that back, though. And Kimberly says, I know where it is, funneled back to the pockets of the swamp creatures. Yeah. But Zelensky acknowledges missing funds in the American aid. In a February 1st interview with the Associated Press, explained how Ukraine's military have received only a portion of the more than $175 billion in U.S. assistance earmarked for the conflict. According to the Ukrainian leader, much of the aid has been in the form of direct financial transfers, but has instead come as weapons training and humanitarian support. Okay. He claims not to have received 177 to 200 billion of the support. he says he never received it. What happened was most of the support, or the majority of it, was in the form of vehicles, equipment, weapons, and ammunition. So he got portions in cash and portions in equipment. But he claims not to have received a lot of it. Now, also, you can find on the internet a lot of claims that much of that equipment has ended up in South and Central America because evidently the Ukrainian government had been selling it on the black market. So we're giving them billions of dollars worth of vehicles, munitions, ammunition, and weapons and drones and all sorts of things. And they're turning around and selling it to cartels, and those cartels are using it to fight the governments in South and Central America, something that they've complained about to the United States, even during the Biden administration. So now Zelensky says, oh, well, a lot of it wasn't in form of cash. Yeah, we know that. It doesn't mean it wasn't $350 billion. Just not all of it was in cash. And then you don't know where the money is anyway. And we're supposed to trust this person and keep sending the money. I don't think so. And Paul says we did finish paying for it about 10 or 15 years ago. Okay, I wasn't sure. I had heard that it might not have been finished. Puck says Finnish politician claims that Trump gave Europe 3 weeks to accept Ukraine's surrender, or the U.S. will pull out of Europe. Did he say that? I hadn't seen that article. But so much comes down the pipe. I can't catch everything. But to make matters worse, then you got articles like this, okay? And I'm going to jump to, who has this article? I think is this Newsweek? Let me see. It is a Newsweek article, okay? This is a Newsweek article. And it's putting down Trump and Musk for talking about this, apparently. It says Trump's attack on Zelensky backfires. Oh, does it? It backfires? Ukrainians are rallying around their president, Volodymyr Zelensky, after President Donald Trump launched a remarkable series of verbal and written attacks on their beleaguered leader. They misspelled his name. I don't know if you can see this. Some of you can't see. That is not how you spell Zelensky's name. Newsweek did, and his editor didn't catch it. It says, days before the third anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion, Ukraine faces growing uncertainty as its once staunchest ally, the United States, appears increasingly divided on supporting Kiev's war effort. It's not divided. They don't want to do it. And most Americans don't want to be behind it. Ukraine has relied on substantial U.S. military and financial aid to resist Russian forces. Yeah, we know, even as Moscow continues its slow territorial gains. However, Trump's characterization of Zelensky as a dictator and his calls to end the conflict on terms favorable to Russia have sent shockwaves through the Ukraine. I don't know how true that is. Okay. So here we go. It says, this is how Newsweek is trying to back this up. According to a recent survey by the Kiev International Institute of Sociology, 57% of Ukrainians trust Zelensky. So the Kiev International Institute of Sociology in Kiev, that is controlled by the Ukrainian government, claims 57% of Ukrainians trust Zelensky. Gotcha. An October 2024 poll, it's not October 2024 anymore, by the way, Newsweek, but okay, we'll run with this. An October 2024 poll published by the International Republican Institute, I don't know where that is, found that 69% of Ukrainians approved of his actions. So sometime last year, 69% of the 500 or so people they cherry-picked and interviewed while Biden was still president, are behind Zelensky's actions. Gotcha. Trump hit back Wednesday in a Truth Social post awash with falsehoods. He called Zelensky a dictator without elections and reiterated his assertion from the day before that the Ukrainian president was very low in the polls. Yeah, okay. Trump erroneously suggested the U.S. had given $350 billion to the Ukraine. The truth is that it's closer to $183 billion, some of which ends up back in the U.S. supplies. That's true. First, though, I guess 183 is a fair round number. Zelensky said 177 to 200 million. But again, that's in cash. The rest of what we gave them was equipment, weapons, and ammunition. And it comes out to around $350 billion. And that stuff's unaccounted for. And again, rumor mill, that a lot of it has ended up in Central and South America, that it was sold on the black market to cartels. And the equipment is down there. So how did it get there? How did it get there? Why are South American governments screaming and yelling about brand new military U.S. equipment turning up? Paul says he loves the live shows, but I'm normally in the bar. Okay. Puck says, ever see the guy that runs Newsweek? Definitely an Epstein client. Oh, God. Oh, no, not that. And Lucky says it's Kilinski. Yeah. Tuck says silent lurk mode going into doctor's appointment. All right. Good luck with the doctor. But this is Newsweek, who still support Zelensky by twisting the facts and giving us polls from months and months ago. Polls, one of which was done by the Ukrainian government, apparently. Kiev International Institute of Sociology, and then 57% isn't that great, by the way. And we all know how polls work. They didn't interview every Ukrainian. They interviewed 500 to 1,000 people that they cherry-picked. That's how polls work. You can't trust poll numbers. I hate poll numbers. Puck says Zelensky was part of the poll. Zelensky was everyone on the poll. He used 500 cell phones. That's what happened. That's what happened. But we're supposed to trust this guy. We're supposed to keep pumping money in there. How long are we going to be doing that? How long do we keep pumping out funds? Bankrupt. Which brings me back to that post that I put up, that I pulled off the internet because it's been circulating. How much are we supposed to spend? It's got to stop. And I had read an argument also. Somebody had said that, okay, because DOGE hit 120 billion this morning. 120 billion on the debt clock. And they made the argument that considering what we owe, that's only a drop in the bucket, so who cares? Yeah, okay, $120 billion is a lot of money, but compared to 36 trillion, it is a drop in the bucket. But that doesn't mean you don't do it. It's got to stop, and somebody's got to start somewhere. This is the first time since Reagan I've seen anybody try to tackle this. Everyone else since Reagan, it's been a free-for-all. Reagan, if you remember, I believe it was Reagan, right? Fighting with Congress. Who spends $1,800 on a toilet seat? Someone explain this. You remember those hearings? Trying to slash the government funding and all the extra spending. And then what happened? We got Bush Sr., who did not do a good job. Clinton, who spent a fortune. Bush Jr., who did not do a good job. Obama, who threw money out the window, and then Biden, who set money on fire. Went from 25 trillion to 36 trillion in a heartbeat. And then you get somebody for the first time in decades who's like, you know what, this cannot continue. It's not sustainable. Let's try to walk some of this back, and everybody's pissed. You want us to go bankrupt? You want us to end up like the Soviet Union? Again, the Soviet Union went bankrupt for less than this, less trouble than we're in. But they ran out of resources. How much longer can we keep it up before there's no more taxes to steal from everybody or extort from everyone? 10 more years, 20? And then how will the United States look? You can't keep it up. Puck says that person never read the Constitution, and Paul says your taxpayers pay for it. Yeah, until they can't. Until they can't. It's really kind of frustrating. It's really kind of frustrating. There's a lot of people that think like that. Government's supposed to take care of us. You want the government telling you where, when, and how to shit and then wipe your ass for you? That's what you want. You want to be a toddler all the way to the grave. Because that's what you're asking for. The bigger government is and the more they're involved in everything, the worse it is. Why do you think that they came out with, like Orwell wrote 1984? Why do you think Animal Farm was written? Why do you think Brave New World was written? To warn people about that kind of stuff, about overbearing government agencies taking over your life, dictating everything that you do. And then you have nitwits begging for it. You do not want big government. You want simplified government so that they can let people just live. I know, I'm on my soapbox. I got a comment yesterday before I get into this article from the New York Post here. A comment, I forget which channel it's on, if it's on Coffee or Prepper University, saying I talk too much. Said, oh, yeah, you make a lot of really good points, or yeah, something like that. I'm paraphrasing. You make a lot of really good points, but you could wrap up that whole video in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. It takes, if you combine all the reading I do, it's probably at least 20 minutes of the whole podcast. 5 minutes. Okay. I love it. New York Post. LA Mayor Karen Bass, we're in California here, gives mind-boggling excuses for being in Guyana as the city burned. In battle, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, she's finally made a statement. How long has it been since the LA fires? Now she makes a statement. Embattled Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has offered a mind-boggling excuse for being 7,500 miles away in Guyana as her city was consumed by wildfires, blaming others for not telling her that she shouldn't have gone on the trip. It's your fault. You made me go. Bass claimed she wasn't alerted to the widely shared warnings of the wildfire risk as she flew to Africa on behalf of the Biden administration. Quote, we need to look at everything about the preparation and all of that for the fires. I think that when we evaluate that, we will find that although there were warnings that I frankly wasn't aware of, wasn't what it typically is, whatever that means. Wasn't aware of, wasn't what it typically is. That level of preparation didn't happen. If it had, I wouldn't have even gone to San Diego, let alone leave the country. Well, when she ran for mayor, she said she would never leave. that she would stay in the Los Angeles basic area and not travel far from it. And she'd been in and out of Los Angeles several times. Bass again claimed that fire officials didn't raise concerns and told her that the Santa Ana winds blamed for spreading the fires were a common occurrence. Everyone but you, honey. Everyone but you. Oh no. Everyone but you. Pucks reminds us Thomas Jefferson warned against the nation borrowing money. No, you should never be the lender, not the borrower, and get your money back. And Tuck doesn't mind the leftos traveling to Guyana or anywhere else. He just wishes they'd stay there. So that's what it was. When she decided to leave, no one told her not to go. So you just do whatever you're told, honey? I love the smug look on her face. You can't tell that woman anything. You can't tell her anything. From the city, from the country, that level of preparation didn't happen. Or county, I read that wrong. From the city, from the county, that level of preparation didn't happen. So it didn't reach that level to me to say something terrible could happen and maybe you shouldn't have gone on the trip. That's a quote from Bass again. Oh, and here she is in Guyana. That's nice. I hope she enjoyed her trip. It looks like she's in a gift shop, actually. Never buy duty free, it's a ripoff. I will tell you that I felt absolutely terrible not being here for my city and not being here for my family, who was impacted by the fires as well. When I say it was a mistake, absolutely. The idea that I was not present was very painful. But it's everyone else's fault, though. I didn't do a damn thing. Oh, I love that shot. That's a great shot. Somebody should meme that. And Marvel Fan has joined us. I'm glad you could make it today. That picture says it all. Right there. That's perfect. I like that one. I know not everybody can see it, but she looks pretty stupid. She looks pretty stupid. It's everyone else. No one told me I shouldn't go. Nobody told me to stay. Lady, the fires had already started. Oh my God. And then when you came back, you refused to talk. And we're how far away from the fires? And now you make a statement, and your statement is to blame everyone else. I love it. I love it. Marvel Fan said all these mayors are full of it and need to go. I know. What a nut. What a nut. They voted for her. Look, this is what you voted for, people. Another career politician, another DEI hire. We're so progressive. We're so progressive. Look at our mayor. Yeah. Where did that get you? Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Absolutely incredible. And you want to see another incompetent DEI hire? We're going to jump from California to New York, and we're going to pick on Governor Hochul in a CNN News article. This one takes some explaining. It says New York governor deploys the National Guard amid illegal corrections officers strike at state prisons. And man, they have no right to strike, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes here. New York City Governor Kathy Hochul has deployed the National Guard troops to secure state-run prisons amid a wildcat strike by corrections workers. Picketing and striking by corrections officers took place at around 30 state prisons as of Wednesday morning. Hochul said National Guard troops are being deployed Wednesday, but she did not immediately specify where. Do you have any left? Aren't they all in the subway? Because you've already got like 1,000 troops in the damn subway. Incredible. It says they've already been deployed and ready to stabilize the situation. I mean, you can't. It is illegal. They can't just walk out and leave prisoners unattended. One, it's very dangerous, and two, it's inhumane because some of those people, they can't. they could starve in their cell. How long are they going to sit in there? Well, they won't starve. It takes a long time to actually starve, but you get my point. You can't just leave them locked in there unattended. Holchels to National Guard soldiers in a video address released Wednesday. I am directing everyone involved in these unlawful strikes to stop these actions immediately. Legal action has already commenced to ensure compliance. Those people need to be terminated and replaced immediately. It's legal for them to strike for a reason. Later in the day, Holchel's office said in a statement that 3,500 New York National Guard started reporting for duty and will support corrections workers at prisons with tasks including distributing meals, medication, and help maintain general order and wellness in the facilities. The strikes have upended the lives of prison inmates and their families who have been denied access to everything from lawyers to family visits. Executive Director of Alliance of Families for Justice, Sophia Elijah, who advocates for families of incarcerated people. The lockdowns have also restricted access to religious services, parole hearings, and medical treatment. Our family members and their incarcerated loved ones are gripped by fear of what may happen with the governor's calling in of the National Guard. She said the families were reporting lockdowns and other restrictions at Bear Hill, Franklin, Upstate, Collins, Elmira, 5 Points. There's no point in reading all these prisons. They said it was 30 facilities. You get it? You get the point? So now, because these workers walked out, basically leaving the prisons unattended, which is illegal, but at the same time, this is going on there. Let me get this article opened up. So they've got a nerve striking while so many of those prisons are under investigation. And James says that it was 5 minutes from him and his friends who work there. Associated Press. Some New York prison guards have been charged in a beating death of handcuffed inmate appear in court. And this is police body cam. And that guy is shackled, that's being stomped on by this prison guard here. There's 6 of them beating this guy. Article reads, 6 New York prison guards have been indicted for second-degree murder in the beating death of a handcuffed inmate, a brutal incident captured on body-worn camera that triggered widespread outrage and calls for justice. 4 other corrections workers were also charged with lesser crimes in the December death of Robert Brooks at Marcy's Correctional Facility in an indictment unsealed this Thursday. The special prosecutor, Onondaga County District Attorney William Fitzpatrick, said especially disturbing to him was the sense of normalcy of the employees in the video, which was caught unintentionally on a body-worn camera. I think any sentient human being looks at the tapes naturally, comes to the conclusion he must have said something, he must have spit at the officers, he must have resisted in some way, and the fact of the matter is, he did nothing. Handcuffed corrections employees appeared one after another in a packed Utica court to enter not guilty pleas. It's kind of hard to claim not guilty when you're on camera and you're beating someone to death. And this is not the only incident like this in a New York prison recently, of not necessarily of someone being killed this way, but of violent guards and abuse of power and grafting and other problems. There's a lot of places under investigation, but then, they're going to walk out and strike. Yeah, that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. So this is what's going on at the same time that those strikes are going on. I guess they didn't realize somebody's camera was still on. Well, 6 charged with murder and 4 others charged with something else, who I guess were kind of just standing around. I understand there's some really nasty people in prisons sometimes. Some people are pretty bad. But a prison is supposed to be a controlled environment at the same time. And things like that shouldn't happen there. Guards shouldn't be doing this, and prisoners shouldn't be doing this either. And there's way too many of those correctional facilities that are out of control. Out of control. But then again, like I said, they have the nerve to go and strike. They have the nerve to go to strike. James said, pretty sure the 6 guards had previous issues, payoffs, and sweeps incidents under the rug. That could be. You could be. And Puck says you never hear the phrase New York hospitality. No, it's not the Big Apple anymore. It's the rotten apple. It's been that way for a long time. Going to jump to a Newser article. Who heard about this? We're going to go overseas here. We're going to go to Myanmar, I think, is where this took place, if I remember correctly. I'll know in a moment when I read it. Newser. Thousands rescued from notorious scam compounds. Who knew about this? And Raccoon wants to know if the prisoner had a history of being difficult. I'm not sure. The article didn't really say. I'm sure that'll come out in court, though. Thousands have been rescued, and here's a boatload of them. Hopefully they don't bring them here. Actually, I think they went to Thailand. I think. But here we go. Okay, Thailand says thousands of people from numerous countries have been rescued from the notorious scam centers on the other side of its border with Myanmar. Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra, if I pronounce that correctly, said Wednesday around 7,000 people who were rescued from the illegal operations are waiting to be transferred to Thailand, The Guardian reports. Now, probably don't know what I'm talking about here yet. These are people that were kidnapped as slaves to run telephone scams. Seriously. They're chained up in offices and cubicles and calling you and telling you that you owe the IRS and stuff like that. All those scam calls you get, this is how it works. It says, let's see, for years, crime syndicates have been luring people, often those with good English or Chinese language skills, to Thailand with fake job offers and then trafficking them to call centers in Myanmar where they're forced to try to scam people around the world. The authorities launched a fresh crackdown on the centers last month after a Chinese actor Wang Xing was abducted in Bangkok, where he had been promised a lucrative acting job. He was later rescued from Myanmar. Shinawatra promised to shut down the centers after a meeting with Chinese leader Jinping, according to the BBC. Among other moves, her government cut off access to power and internet to some areas on the other side of the border. Some 260 workers from 20 countries, mostly in Africa and Asia, were repatriated last week. More than half of them were from Ethiopia. The rescue, well, if they're from Ethiopia, they probably do that anyway. Couldn't resist. Sorry, folks. The rescued workers said they were forced to work for up to 20 hours a day trying to defraud people on messaging services like WhatsApp, and were beaten and given electric shock treatment if they failed to meet target goals. Oh, man. The Associated Press reports that the reparations were organized by a group repatriations, excuse me. The repatriations were organized by a group in Myanmar called the Border Guard Force, though critics accuse it and other ethnic militias of protecting scam operations in the border region where Myanmar's government has little influence. That has got to be the craziest story. It's Myanmar. Did I pronounce it wrong? I've heard it Myanmar. Is it Myanmar? And Nature Nerd says Myanmar is at civil war right now. And Maria says, bless Ukraine, people and the government. And JD says, at least they're scamming the Chinese too and not just Americans. Puck wants to know if it was USA funded. Possibly. So they kidnap people who can speak good English or good Chinese from wherever they can get them, smuggle them into Myanmar, chain them to a desk and a telephone, and beat them and give them electroshock therapy to force them to call people all over Asia and the Western world to try to scam them. That is absolutely incredible. That is absolutely incredible. You can't make this stuff up, folks. You can't make it up. And it got cracked open, and they rescued 7,000 people here because some famous Chinese actor got kidnapped in Bangkok. Because I imagine he would speak good Chinese. That is absolutely incredible. If so many Chinese citizens are kidnapped, shouldn't China do something to Myanmar? They threaten everybody else. That sounds like a bigger problem. Why don't you go there and stomp the hell out of them? I don't think anybody would fight you. Thailand might help because Thailand's the one that always has to clean this up because it's their border. Nature Nerd says evil people forced to scam people against their will. Yeah. Forcing people to scam other people in fake call centers in Myanmar. That is bonkers. Again, like I said, truth is stranger than fiction here. Truth is stranger than fiction. Absolutely incredible. But yeah, that's another one that's it's flying under the radar. Have you seen that story? Why isn't that 7,000 people kidnapped and put into slavery in a call center? In a call center of all things. And Nature Nerd says, glad they rescued 7,000 people. Yeah, that's a lot. And there's probably more. There's probably more. And speaking of crazy, I just wanted to pull this up because this one, this is got swept under the rug. Who remembers this guy? I know I just gave everybody who attack. Who remembers this person? Who is that? That's Sam Brinton. That's Sam Brinton. The executive director of the Office of Nuclear Energy, right? Under the Biden administration. Who remembers them? Who remembers this guy? Something to say about this real quick. Puck says Myanmar almost added to the State Department's regime change list during Trump's first term. Yeah. They need the crap kicked out of them. Fox News CNN anchor in the dark about Sam Brinton, the infamous so-called non-binary ex-Biden nuclear official. Now, I'm not going to read the whole article, but the point here is that this guy just got swept under the rug. Okay? He got swept under the rug. People just forgot. All right? They put him on a pedestal. Biden administration pretending to be progressive. Oh, look at this guy that we hired. Lipstick Larry in his ball gowns. Given top nuclear clearance at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, okay? And you heard he got in trouble for stealing luggage. And then he just kind of dropped off the radar. All right. Puck says he's the future mayor of San Francisco. Yeah. He just fell off the radar after you heard that he got in trouble for stealing luggage. Well, he got arrested for stealing luggage, and it was charged as a felony because he stole it from the airport. And then, yeah, Puck says the dress was stolen. Excuse me. And it was then revealed that he had a history of doing that, and that he had been arrested several times for stealing women's luggage at airports. It's some kind of a fetish with this guy. It's something. That's what he does. He steals luggage at airports. Some weird problem that he has, and that it had been done several times. As this article is talking about, this is a lot of quotes in this article. That's why I'm not like outright reading it. Excuse me. It says, let me see here, that he was arrested in December of 2022 for stealing luggage. Where are we here? I'm trying to look for the other one. It says several House Republican lawmakers jumped on the case to claim the incident in the case of the Biden administration's prioritized wokeness over competence hiring Brinton in the first place, but we should note Brinton was not a Biden appointee, instead hired as a senior civil service official, according to CNN. Still hired under the Biden regime, though. But he had been arrested before for stealing luggage. It says, let's see here, in October 2022, he was charged with stealing a traveler's baggage worth $2,325 from the luggage carousel at the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport. In December of 2022, Las Vegas prosecutors charged Brinton with grand larceny of an item valued between $1,200 and $5,000 by stealing a suitcase with $3,670 worth of articles while he was on an official taxpayer-funded trip to Nevada for the national security site in Las Vegas. In February 2023, following reports of those two cases, a female Tanzanian fashion designer based in Houston told Fox News Digital that articles of clothing that Brinton had been photographed wearing were in her luggage that was stolen in Washington, D.C. at the airport in 2018. So this is something he's been doing for a while. And he just kind of faded away. And John says cat shepherd power, indeed. And Brian says, reminds me of that dorm advisor on Zoe 101 who for some reason stole stuff from girls' rooms and hoarded it in her room. And Puck says, you mean like a mental illness? Yeah, that's a mental illness. This guy's got serious problems. Never mind the fact that he claims to be, I don't know what he thinks he is, getting into all of that. But yeah, he just kind of got swept under the rug. He got arrested for stealing that luggage, and you never heard anything else about it. But evidently, he has a history of this that goes back to at least 2018, stealing women's luggage at airports. Something really wrong with this guy. And look at the high-level position that he had under the Biden administration. And that there is one of the dangers of DEI hires. Tuck says he's probably been a thief his entire life. Who knows how long? The earliest incident, again, 2018. And there had to have been a record of that. You don't keep getting arrested for that kind of stuff. and there's not a record somewhere. They had to have known when he was hired. I would hope they would have done a thorough background check. Armored says federal jobs select for mental illness. I know. It seems that way, doesn't it? With some of the background checks I had to go through, I mean, even when I worked in mental health, I had to have an FBI check when I worked at the mental health facility. They have, I forget what they call it, but there's they do an FBI background check on you. But this guy, oh yeah, no problem. Here's the keys to the kingdom. It's incredible. Raccoon says he's lucky to steal luggage with dresses in his size. He probably cased somebody out on the plane and watched for or watched for them. You know what I mean? Stalked them at the airport so he would know which bag to take. But anyway, with that, we are at the top of the hour, so I will go ahead and start signing out. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta, and Rumble at Coffee Talk 2. You can also check out Stray Cat Sanctuary at Stray Cat Sanctuary 1945. Sorry about the number. YouTube did that. For more on the animals that we take care of. So thank you, everybody who was able to join us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation. And we will catch you again on Monday.